Before we get into explaining what the product is, and I think, generally folks might have a loose understanding of it, we're going to explain the why. So, recently we've seen, and, we're in this business with you guys as we've got Xometry Supplies. We've seen aluminum and other raw materials have reached record highs, not only in price, but also in lead time, right? There's a shortage in the materials themselves. That's surging demands, global supply chain difficulties. And Chris, one thing that, I think both of us found interesting is, what Mike had to say here. So for us, it's been a mess. And as we look ahead to 2022, we don't see this going away anytime soon, unfortunately. So while that can be a little doom and gloom, we think that Supplies Flex, or we feel really good about the fact that Supplies Flex provides a solution to this. And, one thing we've seen, this is another quote that we've seen, how people are addressing this issue is they're ordering more than 100% of their needs. So they don't expect to receive 100%. However, if you're ordering all of that, more than 100%, you don't want to forfeit the sale that you have in front of you, that job opportunity, and you risk, being caught with extra material that you've got on your plate. And that's where we think Supplies Flex comes in. So, Chris, I'd love if you could give us a brief example or a brief rundown of Supplies Flex, and then we can talk about some of the details here as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. So I think, as you just heard Adam talk about, there's three primary hurdles that we're trying to solution for here happening in the materials world right now. And that is ever increasing costs. That is a shortage of supplies. And the only way to really hedge that is it massively impacts your cash flow, right? And we know that as shop owners and people who employ many manufacturing employees across the country, it's hard to impact your cash flow and order that overabundant amount of material in order to hedge those increasing costs and increasing lead times. And since you are all great partners of ours, and we understand, the type of work that you're taking off of our job board, we understand the dollars of work that you're taking off of our job board, we decided to get very, very, very flexible with payment terms around those bulk orders of materials. And so really what this program is designed to do is put roughly 90 days worth of material on your shop floor for you and allow you to pay for that material as you consume it, right? So for example, let's just say you take on average $20,000 worth of jobs off of our job board every month. You'll be able to get $20,000 worth of material placed onto your shop floor. And then once a month, reach out to us. We'll reach out to you once a month to better understand how much of that you've consumed. And as you consume it, you can either pay out of what we owe you for those jobs that you've completed, or any of your other preferred payment methods. At the end of the day, if you don't end up using any of that material at all, we at Xometry here will find a new home for that. So let's just say that you go 180 days without using 10 of the particular blocks of material that were sent to you that you thought you'd use, right? We'll go ahead and we'll find another partner to be able to take those for you. Obviously, if you wanted to sell them on your own and pay us back for it, you could as well. I think that covers at a really high level overview what the program is. Adam, any questions that came up during that explanation?
Yeah, so just to confirm, so when you say I get 90 days worth of material, right, and there's no upfront costs, well, does that mean? Like literally I get shipped 90 days worth of material for no dollars out at the front, right? And how does that work? Is that a credit limit? Is that, kind of what does that look like there?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of questions laced into there. The answer to the first question of do I get 90 days worth of material shipped to me with no upfront costs? The easiest answer to that question is yes, right? Now, if you believe that your shop is going to use $500,000 worth of material over the next 90 days, and you're only taking $10,000 a month off of our job board, there's not much to underwrite those extended, long-term, countless, almost endless payment terms with. And so I would advise everybody on the call here to check with their sales rep to better understand what their limit is for this program. It's a long form calculation derived from how much work you take off of our job board, how frequently you take work off of the job board, etc. But the easiest way to answer that question is we're targeting 90 days worth of material for your shop floor. As you'll see when we get through the presentation here, there's a form that you can fill out. You can also just send us an email with your anticipated needs, but it really just covers, I need, in the next 90 days, I believe I'm going to use 50 12-inch by 12-inch by 2-inch thick blocks of 60/61. Next line item, I think I'm going to use 50 5-inch by 5-inch by 3-inch thick blocks of 70/75, right? As an example, we will then quote that at the current market rate and lock those prices in for you. And upon agreement to those prices, send that material to you. And again, as you consume it, as you let us know that you've consumed it, that's when you can either pay for it by deducting from jobs, deducting from your shop finances, or paying for it in any of your other preferred payment methods.
Yeah, we'll get into payment methods in a minute, but one thing, so I've got 180 days to pay back the 90-day supplies. You said we'll check in, kind of once a month, or we expect to check in from the folks utilizing this. What happens if I don't utilize any of the material that month? Am I, can I pay that month, or do I have to pay that month? Kind of what does that look like?
You can if you'd like to, but you don't have to. Right? As long as we're hearing from you, as long as we're in good standings and everybody's acting in good faith, letting us know, hey, I know I didn't use any of this material last month. I think I'll use a little bit next month. That's fine. We're not going to collect $1 that month that you don't use anything. Now, once you do hit that 180 days, the conversation then will turn into, okay, what do you really think you're going to be able to use out of this? Would you like to get any of it back? Things along those lines, only because we don't want to carry that on our accounts receivable books for too much longer than 180 days. Although, again, if you're acting in good faith, we're acting in a lot of good faith here, right? And so as long as you're acting in good faith and checking in with us, if we hit that 180-day mark and you've got an order that you need that material for in 45 days, 60 days from that date, we're not going to just pull that material back from you. We're not going to hit your shop finances account and pull that money out. We don't store your credit card information or anything like that. So it's not like we're gonna run aggressive accounts receivable on it. It's simply a conversation of, hey, the material's been sitting there a while. Can we clean up that shelf space, maybe for some different block sizes that you believe you'll use more frequently, different grades of material that you think you'll use more frequently, things along those lines. And again, what we're really trying, sorry, Adam, but what we're really trying to do here is empower our partners to take quicker lead time jobs and make faster decisions around the jobs that they take, because there's already material sitting on the shelf. We know that a lot of our partners look at our job board and then go get quotes from our supplies groups and other materials groups and things along those lines before accepting that job. And so frequently, all too frequently, that job disappears before you have the opportunity to get all those quotes back and really commit to the fact that you can make money on the job. And therefore, if the material is already on the shelf and you already know exactly what you're going to get charged for it, you can make very quick decisions and take more work, take some of that quick turn work that pays you out a significantly higher margin than a standard lead time job does.
So we've got a couple good questions in here before we get to the next slide. Sean Rogers asked, does Xometry offer specific material certs with this material? So if I'm ordering, material that I need material certs on, can I get that when I order?
Absolutely. This is all domestic material. All of it's, everything's DFAR, everything is has a material cert with it. Everything has all of the compliance documents with it. This is material that you've been getting from us, all along, that has all of those certificates along with it. We're not getting any materials to date from any overseas sources or from any sources that cannot provide material certs. We know how important that is to our job board work, to the customers of the job board work. And we can't take risks by having some material that has it and some material that doesn't. At the end of the day, the wrong material might get ordered for a job that it's important on, and then there's too much liability involved for us to carry any material that doesn't have those certificates with it.
Awesome. And then Brett Richardson had shipping. So who pays for shipping of this material to the shop? And then if it's not used, who pays for shipping, from the shop?
Absolutely. So the initial order, you're going to pay for the shipping from the distributor to your location. That just like you would, if you ordered material from us, we do that all on freight shipments in order to keep costs nice and low for you. If the material has to be transferred to a different shop, if you're not going to end up using that material, it's going to be sent to a different shop. That partner is going to pick up the shipping costs from your facility to their facility, just like they would pay for it from the distributor to their facility if they were ordering material that hadn't been previously returned. There's a better word for it than that.
Basically, it's just like a normal order. Yeah, it's just like a normal order. You pay for shipping as it comes to you, but you don't have to pay for the return shipping, because if we're finding a new home for it, then that partner would be paying for the shipping as it comes to them. Let's see, last question on this slide. Milos asked, SpaceX, is it SpaceX approved material suppliers and material certs? I think that goes back to the certs question.
Specify that. So we work with about 80% of the material distributors that we work with are SpaceX approved for the material. And as long as you specify that on your initial request, when you're filling out your form, letting us know what you believe you're going to consume over the next 90 days, we will ensure that it comes that way. It'll be labeled accordingly as well. If you split, your order 60% SpaceX approved, 40% not, the 60% that is approved will be labeled as so as well. That way, when you and your operators are pulling it off the shelf to throw it in the mill, you understand that it's that that material that has that additional level of certification behind it.
Awesome. All right, these are some fantastic questions. I am going to move us on to the next slide so that we can kind of get into how you would take advantage of this. So you've got a couple different options on the front end here. Like Chris said, we're going to show you, and we'll send out to everyone that attended an example list in a PDF form that you can actually edit and fill out your list. So if you know what you want to order, you could actually go ahead and fill out your material quote. However, Chris's team is standing by and ready to talk to you. If you want to talk to a specialist about what types of SKUs you want, et cetera. So you can connect with a specialist, or you can fill out your list. And then the next step would be to create a 90-day list. So you fill out this PDF, like I said, that we'll send to you after this webinar. Really the sweet spot is somewhere between like 5 and 10 materials. You can have more or less, but we found in some of our beta testing that that's really the sweet spot for the list itself. You would email that to supplies@xometry.com. We'd come back to you with a final quote. You would accept that. And then from there, once you get the materials, every month we'll reach out and check in on how it's going. And then you pay us back for the materials you use. Or, like Chris said, as long as there's communication involved there, the payment terms are fairly flexible. So Chris, let's get into creating your 90-day list. What are some of the things that you've seen? What are the materials that people are ordering? What's part of this program here?
Absolutely. So any material on our SKU list is part of this program, right? The metals, the blocks of metals, the sheet metals, the plastics, the sheet plastics, the 3D printing filaments, the 3D printing powders, the injection mold resins that we carry. It is a raw material program. It doesn't have anything to do with any of our other supplies, though definitely, stay tuned for an expansion in the future into that. I think, if I could pass on one big word of wisdom as you're filling out these forms, it's that try to keep with as standardized sizes as possible, right? I've seen some forms come in where you're looking for 10 blocks of 10 inch by 10 inch by 2 inch, and then 10 blocks of 11 inch by 11 inch by 2 inch, and then 10 blocks of 12 inch by 12 inch by 2 inch. And if we can combine that into 30 blocks of 12 by 12 by 2, the rate is significantly lower, and you can always find uses. I live under the mantra of there is no such thing as scrap material unless it's a chip. And even at that point, there's still a use for it. But with that mantra in mind, you can always find, an extra part to make out of that little 2-inch overrun that you might experience if you machine a 10-inch part out of a 12-inch block of material, right? And so keep the overall number of SKUs low, the quantities higher per SKU when the lengths and the length, width, and heights are similar. I think the other thing that really helps keep costs down is if you have a bandsaw in your shop, a vertical bandsaw, a horizontal bandsaw, and can be cutting some of like the 6-foot lengths down to size, right? If you don't, shameless plug, if you don't have a bandsaw, we do sell them. And sell a lot of them. And so if, keeping it to those standard 6-foot, 10-foot lengths, things along those lines, again, really helps keep costs down. It helps keep some handling costs down, some palleting costs down, and things along those lines as well. So those would probably be the two largest things that I would speak about here. The other thing is as you're filling out your form, there's no commitment to turning in the form, right? The form will then get turned into a quote, and then the quote has to be agreed on here as well. And so if you're looking to kind of check on a few different things, we can remove line items between the quote and the order as well. So definitely just put your entire inquiry into here, get it turned in to your specialist, and they'll reach back out with a quote and walk you through the whole thing and decide which materials you're going to have delivered to you.
Yeah, shameless plug worked. Brett is interested in a bandsaw, so we'll want to reach out to him afterwards. But so the materials included on the slide, those are the materials currently available for purchase here. We've got plastics, metals, IM materials, 3DP materials, sheet metal, really your main consistent raw materials that we know you guys are using all the time. Again, we'll send out this PDF at the end, but very simple form, and kind of like Chris said, keep it consistent, and somewhere in that 5 to 10 SKU sweet spot. That allows us to respond really quickly to you guys, and it keeps costs down on your end to make this a really effective program for you. So Chris, you touched on payment terms earlier, and like payment, the ability to pay in different ways. Let's get into that a little bit. So we've touched on this a little bit, but we'll check in once a month, to see how much you've consumed. You can also elect to pay us earlier if you get a big job or a large influx of cash and you want to pay off some of that the blanket order that you have on us, but then pay your way. So talk a little bit about the different payment types that we accept and how the different options they have.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about how this was all underwritten, right? It's all through the job board and the amount of work that you take off of the job board on average and things along those lines. It's no secret here. We have an entire financial technologies division of Xometry who's dedicated to finding creative new ways to utilize that knowledge of those finances in order to help you fund additional aspects of your shop. And that's essentially what we're doing here. So all of those fintech payment methods are available in order to pay this down, whether it's your shop finances overall balance, if that's your Xometry Advance Card, 50%, if that's job deduct, if you want to deduct it off of a job as you consume it, that's obviously available to you as well. If you're getting close to, now it's a little late in the year, but if we're a month back, maybe 6 weeks back in time, and we were getting close to the end of the year, and you wanted to go, run up a whole bunch of jobs in order to pay it all off, so you had a bunch of quote unquote free material sitting on the shelf next year, you could fast pay a whole bunch of jobs in order to pay it off. But then obviously any of the other preferred payment methods that are out there, whether you want to call us with a credit card of your choosing, if you want to send a check in for it or do an ACH balance transfer, that's available as well. But being underwritten by the financial technology tools that we have here, those financial technology tools are all available for you in order to pay this material as you consume it.
Yeah, and one thing to note, I think Joe asked this question earlier. You don't have to return the material at the end. So if you order more than you need, but you've paid it off and you want to keep that material in-house, that material is yours. So the material that arrives at your shop is yours and you can do with it what you want. And you also don't have to use it just for Xometry jobs, right? Like that material is yours. You can do with it what you want and how you want to run your shop most effectively. We've just said that if you don't use it and you want to not pay for it and send it back, then we have an avenue for that. So you can absolutely keep that. Material is yours. And like I said, it can be used for Xometry jobs. We know that this is an effective way to take quick turn jobs, but it can also be used for any of your other jobs. Now, Thomas asked a question. Chris, I don't know if this is in either of our wheelhouses, but
I saw that. We're going to go ahead and get back to you on that, Thomas. I have a sneaky suspicion that the answer is that you'd have to request that at kind of a per payment or even a per quarter basis, right? I know factually that our accounting systems are not connected to Dun & Bradstreet to report that in an automated fashion. And I also know, just like I'm sure all of your accounting departments and accounting folks, accounting gets pretty busy this time of the year and into the new year there. So let's go with the answer of by special request, and then we'll confirm that answer for you in a separate email after this call.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because I don't think the chat comes through in the recording, Thomas asked, will you report the payments to Dun & Bradstreet? We said, we'll check it potentially by special request, but we don't believe that's in an automated fashion, but we will get back to you guys on that question. Chris, anything else on the payment terms you want to cover?
Again, the slogan of this program is the materials you need, the payment methods you want, right? So if you're looking at this going, I wish there was a different way to pay, we would love to hear from you and love to hear your ideas and see how we can further expand this program to more meet the needs of its slogan.
Yeah, a great place to plug that is in the discussion thread in the community. Luke or Carrick, if one of you guys could grab that link and put it in the chat, that's where my team is monitoring your feedback on the program and also reporting that back to Chris and product and technology, et cetera, so that we can, take into account your feedback and see if it's something that we can actually implement within the program. So let's get into some of the answering some of our FAQs. We've had some good questions in here. I've touched on a little bit on some of these, but so what items are eligible for Supplies Flex? Chris, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, again, it's all of our raw materials and ask for it, right? Just because it's not available on the website doesn't mean that we don't have access to it. We currently don't have those injection mold materials available on our website, but we have access to about 300,000 different injection mold materials behind the scenes here that we're working on getting onto the website. What we're trying really hard to avoid here is any type of a custom cut material. As you can imagine, if we got to the end of the program and none of that custom cut material was utilized, that would be significantly harder to place into the next shop by being a custom cut material. Now, again, as with everything here, we're trying to be incredibly helpful. And so if you know that you're working on a job and it's going to require custom cut material, and let's just say you already have the order for it in hand, some other way that we can validate that you're going to utilize that custom cut material, we'll take a look at that on a case-by-case basis and potentially offer that. But in the spirit of being able to move this material around in the event that it is not consumed, we would prefer to avoid the custom cut materials.
Awesome. So the Supplies Flex credit limit, kind of the number that you're able to reach when you order. As Chris touched on, we're doing that by taking into account your activity on the job board. And so there's a formula, and we won't necessarily, I don't know it well enough to explain it here, but it's basically your activity on the job board within the most recent time frame, kind of the last 3 months or so. We take that into account and actually spit out a credit limit, because we know you're taking that number of work. That's the stuff that we can see and underwrite ourselves without having to have you submit a credit check or anything of that nature. So we're trying to make this as agile as possible. Where you can find out your credit limit is by scheduling a time with one of Chris's team. Again, Luke put in the Calendly link to actually request that meeting. You can also fill out your list, send it in to us. We can do the credit check on the back end, not an official credit check, but checking your credit limit with Xometry based on your job board activity, and then get back to you and say, hey, you could order a lot more than this, or hey, we need to shave off a few of these SKUs here to actually get you under the credit limit. And then, Chris, I'm going to take this next one. One of my favorite things about our partners is anytime we launch a new product, you guys want to ask us, why would Xometry do this, or how are you guys making money? I love answering these honestly. So why we would do this is, we know that there's supply chain constraints for you guys, and you guys are our lifeblood, right? Like, you taking jobs off Xometry's job board, that's what keeps the engine going. And so we want to empower you to actually take more of those jobs. And also, we've got these really strong relationships with leading material vendors, and we want to share those benefits with you all. So, what we see is that we have an opportunity to move more material within the market by sharing our benefits and the strong relationships with the material vendors. But we also see that there's a pain point for you all with the supply chain, and we want to launch a product that hopes to solve that. So there's really no hidden agenda here. We just want to make you guys more efficient and move more material in the market by sharing some of the benefits that we have and the strong relationships that we have with those material vendors. Chris, I'll make you the bad guy in the last one. What if the material is damaged or becomes unusable? So we've talked about being able to ship the material back. What if that material is damaged on the shop floor or oxidizes or whatever due to improper storage?
It's a good faith conversation, right? If it shows up at your door damaged, we're obviously going to replace that material for you. If you send us a picture of a block of of steel, and we notice in that picture that it's outside and it's been 170 days since you got it from us. That's kind of improper storage, right? You might be able to get away with that in Arizona in the summer, but you're not going to get away with that in Florida in the winter. And it's really about having that conversation then at that point in regards to how this happened. Just, store your material in a safe indoor location. If you're one of our sheet metal partners, have a good racking system. Again, another shameless plug, we sell racking systems here. And get yourself a proper sized rack so that corners and edges don't stick over for people to bump into them and for forklifts to hit them and things along those lines. Store your material on pallets. Use your forklift in order to pull the pallet down to waist level before pulling your block of material off of it. If you need material handling equipment, again, another shameless plug, I'm going to keep going on these all day long at this point. We sell overhead crane systems and magnetized overhead cranes and all of the type of material handling equipment that you could ever want, need, or desire. And if you've got a leaky roof, maybe throw down a tarp. But other than that, let's have a in good faith conversation about it and move forward from there. We're here to help you out. We are nothing without our partners. We wouldn't be able to run our business without our partners. We're not trying to be facetious in any way.
I'm going to stop share here and move us directly into a couple minutes of Q&A if we have them. We've got 25 minutes left, so we can use all of that. Or if you feel like you've got the right information now and you want to go start making your list, you can go do that. But yeah, the floor is the attendees. If you've got any questions for Chris or myself, now's a great time for them. And while we wait on a few questions, Chris, thanks for joining us today, man. Very, very informative.
I really appreciate you having me, Adam. One thing I wanted to mention is within the first 2 weeks of opening up this program, we had 25 of our partners sign up for it. We did a bit of a beta run. You've probably had one of our sales reps reach out to you in regards to it, or Luke or Carrick, because I've been stealing Adam's employees and putting them to work. We've already had 5 of our partners re-up on this material as well. It's proving to be a really effective way to solution those things that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, those supply chain issues, those material cost increased issues, and lock that all in. But also love to hear from any, in a very separate call. Always feel free to reach out to me. My email address is kind of plastered everywhere. So that was my phone number, but always looking for opportunities like this one to help everyone here grow their businesses and make materials, supplies, everything more cash, more accessible to your business.
Absolutely. Okay, with that, it's looking like, Chris, that's the sign of a great presentation when we don't have a ton of questions at the end. It means that we answered a lot of them.
No minimum, Thomas. No minimum at all.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Thomas sliding in right at the close there with the great question. Yeah, no minimum. You can, order $10 worth of material, or you can order right up to your credit limit through the Supplies Flex program.
We had 3 of those partners that I talked about that were in the beta that trialed with a $2,500 order and then quickly came back to up it to $20,000. So if that's kind of where you were thinking about that, Thomas, like trial it, dip your toe in the water, figure out what the program's all about by getting a lower order quantity, by all means, let's work that way. There's not a minimum payment either, Joe. So if you call us 1 month and say, I didn't use any of that material, sorry, not paying you anything this month, that's absolutely acceptable.
Yep. And Thomas with another buzzer beater, is there a freight schedule? I actually don't know what that means totally. So
We're getting these materials from a lot of different distributors that we partner with all over the country. If you speak with your sales rep, they can get you a better understanding of when the material would be delivered, what the lead times would be, what the dates would be, things along those lines. But because we're not running our own private routes here, it's not like I have a Southeast delivery schedule on a Monday and a Mid-Atlantic on Tuesday and a Northeast on Wednesday type schedule for you. Doug asks, where is the form to place the order?
Yeah, so Doug, we'll follow via email with a PDF. I can also show the form again real quick. So give me just 1 second. Desktop 3.
And for anybody that's looking at the form going, another form to fill out, just send us a clear and elaborated email, right? Like the form is there to be a guide. It's there to be helpful. It's not absolutely mandatory that you fill out the form. We're just looking for any way for you to communicate to us what the material type, grade, sizing, and quantities are.
Yep. And like I said, Doug, we will send out that form shortly, but you can use that format and just send it in an email if you'd like to supplies@xometry.com. Let me put that again in the chat real quick.
And here I'm going to take this one. Joe asks, is this program just temporary, or do you think it will end up being permanent? Joe, not only do I end up thinking that not only do I know that this will be permanent, I believe there's a lot of room for expansion on this program as well. Think about the consumables that you use, and things along those lines. Think about, those 1/8" drill bits that are 50x diameter to length ratios that you're breaking, every 5 parts. Why would I not just send you 50 of those bits and let you pay for them as you consume them? Think about, all of the way down to the most incidental things, right? No cut gloves. We all know we go through boxes of those. Slip and fall protection, we all, like the absorber, the oil absorber. We all know that we go through a 5-gallon bucket of that stuff every month, just from miscellaneous things that happen around the shops. I would love to get this program to a point in the future where you can take anything out of our supplies division, put it on your shelf, and pay for it as you go, as long as you're continuing to stay in good standings with Xometry's managed services job board work. Stay tuned for that. No promises made, but definitely stay tuned.
And Joe, to be clear, one of our processes, we've had this for probably going on, we're getting to close to 2 years now. Anything that we officially launch, we've beta tested. So once we beta test it and it's launched, we've got a good sense that this is a product that is going to be part of Xometry's future for the foreseeable future, right? So this has been beta tested. We feel super confident in it. We got great feedback from the partners, so that were part of the beta program. That is something that is really important to us. Not only does it work for us, but it works for you guys. And we've seen that this checks both the boxes. This is not a fly by the seat of our pants kind of thing. We've tested this and we feel really, passionate about this program, and we know that it's going to work for both you guys and us. So this isn't going away anytime soon. And quick plug for the community: if you're interested in being a beta test, partner, that's something that if you want to talk to us, in the community platform, you can send Luke, Carrick, or myself direct messages. You could email us. We're constantly looking for different user types and different shop sizes and people using the platform in different ways to beta test new products, because Xometry is going to continue publishing new products. It's only going to pick up speed, going into 2022. So if you're interested, absolutely reach out to us. We'll if you fit the user type that we're looking for that beta program, we'll absolutely include you. And in that program and in those programs, what we do is we release kind of a usable product to you. And all we ask is that you stay in kind of constant contact with us as you use it and provide both good and, constructive criticism on the product. But this has been beta tested, and it's a full-fledged product that is that we're keeping around for a while.
To Adam's point there, for example, if you like this program and you like the concept of this program of being able to have an overabundant amount of supplies in your shop and paying for them as you consume them, pay attention for kind of the Q2 timeline next year when we start doing some vending options.
Okay, I'll do another awesome questions, and special shout out. I don't want to miss anybody, but it felt like Joe, Milos, Doug, couple others, Thomas, Sean had a few good questions in there. If I missed, Brett had a few good questions as well. Daniel. So special shout out for you guys, not only attending, but also just engaging and asking some great questions. We really appreciate that. That way we're able, because if you've got a question, typically at least 3 other people on the call have a question. So it's good for us to be able to answer those here and really get into it. Milos, right now, in mills and taps are not part of the program. It's only materials. But as Chris kind of touched on, that's something that we're looking at and expanding. So Chris, maybe we tab Milos. It'd be good for us to reach out to you afterwards as we look into expanding into those items. Potentially we can work with you on beta testing that. So great question there. So Thomas, what we can do there is actually, and I think Chris might be typing this, is when you connect with your supplies specialist, your sales rep on Chris's team, we can talk to you about, okay, the types of materials that you're after. Here are the vendors that are in your area. So we have relationships with vendors nationwide. And so we don't want to send you something from New York if you're in California, right? We're never going to do that. So, but what we want to do is actually, while you're talking to your supply specialist, we'll say, okay, we can get these materials from someone just down the road from you, but this one is kind of a specialty material and it can only come from this vendor in this area. Is that okay? So we won't ever try to tab you with a huge shipping cost, right? Because ideally we want to win as many of these orders as possible, and we know that shipping can get in the way of that. So we'll utilize our nationwide network and talk to you about kind of where they're coming from and the shipping charges there. So we work with you to make it as effective as possible. It's just we can't before knowing the material you need and where you are, it's difficult for us to display a map right now because we're kind of custom quoting these to get you the best price possible. So that's why we can't, kind of show it right now, but your supply specialist will be able to discuss that with you and talk through that with you. I hope that answered your question. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for attending. I'm going to stop the recording now and close up shop. If you have any more questions, the community link is in the chat. You can also find that at a lot of the kind of where you were registering for the event. I think it's linked there as well. But yeah, have a great rest of your week, and we hope to hear from you soon.